The, the first generation of any technology is really, really hard to get right. The costs can be very, very high. What are some of the problems that you faced with the Volt?
Yeah, when you do a technology like the Volt for the first time, you're asking for some technologies to be available that just may not be anywhere on the planet. You've got tougher specs than ever before. You've got you're driving different levels, different standards of manufacturability of something that hasn't been done, or it's been done on a lab, sort of a lab level before. So when we sourced the Volt Boy 2.5 years ago now, there were a number of components in the vehicle that had only one supplier on the planet that was actually willing to bid on the project. And when you have that, obviously that's driving an awful lot of cost because there's no competition, and you're also paying for an awful lot of technology that just has to be developed at the same time. It's not on a shelf. So first generation technology often is expensive for that reason, and then also because often it has to be, in the case of the Volt for sure, over-designed because of so many learnings we have yet to know. I mean, we're designing for what does it take to design a 10-year battery or maybe even 20-year battery? What do you have to do with a thermal liquid heating cooling system? Is it necessary? We put it on there because we think it is necessary. We think that's going to extend the life of the battery. But you don't know, so you over-design that vehicle with some features and some capability that you just don't know yet whether you can back off of it. And then you have the supplier issue where you just don't have a supply base, and you've got to build that up. And so when you get to Gen 2 and Gen 3, Generation 2, Generation 3 of a product, there the focus is all on cost, because now you have some experience, you have new suppliers moving into that market, and more capability out there. And now you finally have a shot at bringing out cost of this technology. First one is just an anomaly, and it is what it is.
And you also talked about the first generation being, you used the phrases, the wow factor, wowing up that version of the vehicle, geeking it up with content. And that adds a lot of cost too, right?
It sure does. I mean, clearly, the one thing we had to do with the Volt first generation is it had to be the ultimate wow product. So it was more than just a car. It became something that was loaded with so much technology. I said geeked up. It has so much on this product, and in the future, maybe you decontent to sort of as one means also to get content out, but to get cost out. But think about what's on this vehicle, first generation. 5 years of OnStar, nav screens, touch screens, 30 gigs of music memory storage for your iPod or an iPod connector. It's got preconditioning ability. It's got the ability to command the vehicle to start and precondition while it's still plugged into the wall through your phone, through a computer. It's got DVD screens, so when you're parked, you can see a DVD in your center console screen. So much technology on one vehicle. 10 million lines of software code are required to actually make that drive and that ride so smooth and seamless and elegant as it is. Those are really over-designed features, a lot of content. Again, these are other opportunities later on, but the number one thing with this vehicle to get it into mainstream later on is you've got to start wowing them at the beginning. It's got to be something everybody has to have, wants to have, and the more people that have it, the more neighbors and family members are hearing about it and saying, oh, I really have to have one too. When I need to buy a car in 2 more years, I want to buy that car. And so that's what you're looking for, is that real word of mouth, and it doesn't start with a ho-hum. It starts with, oh my gosh, look at that car, I got to have that one.
Do you compare this in some ways not to the iPod or the iPhone, which is which were instantaneous hits, but maybe the first generation of the cell phone in the early 90s, the shoebox, the bricks, that took a decade before they caught on?
Well, I think that, first of all, consumer electronics is going to be very different than a car purchase. Clearly, this is the second biggest purchase item in a family or in a household, and so you think very, very carefully about this kind of investment. It's not just something that fits well within your paycheck, and you go to the store and you buy that consumer electronic item and you bring it home and use it. This is a much different, more serious investment that consumers make, and I think that you also have to consider that people don't buy cars every year. They buy them 4 years, 8 years. I don't know what the average life of a vehicle is in a household, but I think ownership is, I'm just going to guess, 8 to 12 years, somewhere in that frame. So, I mean, people hang on to cars, and so you don't have, just because I offer a thrilling vehicle today like the Volt, doesn't mean that everybody's in the market for a car today. They're watching and they're waiting. It may be a wow, I got to have it too, just like all the other people that are storming into the dealerships to buy these vehicles. Not everyone is ready to buy a car. So it happens sort of more incrementally. It takes time. It takes longer in our market to sort of penetrate the marketplace because it is not an every year purchase. And that's part of the factorization that goes in there too. We have to be in there for the long haul. This isn't something that just either proves it's a total success today or it's not. You have to give this thing time. It's got to live and breathe. Clearly, it's hugely successful right now with all the awards it's won and the vehicles being purchased by the dealers that have allocations right now. It's doing extremely, extremely well. But you have to hang in there long enough for the market to build around a vehicle because it's not every day they're buying one.
What is the strategy in terms of when there's a Gen 2 or a Gen 3, when you decontenting, driving down the costs? What is the strategy? Are we talking 5 years? How many years on Gen 1? When do you get to Gen 2?
I don't have a number for the Volt program, but I'll just say notionally in the automotive world, I think that you sort of look at generations of technology and major redesigns of programs every 4 to 5 years. I won't say that that's what we're doing on the Volt program. I don't even know what our timing is. But 4 to 5 years is sort of the expectancy for a major overhaul of a program. By that time, it needs a facelift anyway.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay.